When we decided to do this deep dive into forgiveness, I knew it would be tough.
Oh, yeah.
But looking at these sources we have, how can forgiveness set you free? And why is forgiveness crucial?
Right.
It really hits home how challenging it is, especially, looking at it from a Christian perspective.
Yeah,
It's like we just get so tangled up in the hurt, it's hard to see a way out.
absolutely. And so interesting is both sources really frame this idea of forgiveness as much more than a suggestion.
Right.
This is like a core thing,
Yeah.
a fundamental, a command from God. It's not a maybe you should. It's like this is essential.
A divine directive, huh?
Yeah.
So that adds a whole other level to it. I mean, it's not just about us feeling better. It's
Right.
about really aligning yourself with God's will, which
Yeah.
honestly can feel kind of overwhelming.
It can be.
How do you even begin to forgive when you're hurt so badly?
Well, the sources kind of direct us back to Matthew 6.14, where it, basically says, if we forgive others, then our Heavenly Father will forgive us.
Okay.
So the implication here is that unforgiveness, it's not just some theological concept.
Mm-hmm.
It actually might create this distance
Yeah.
between us and God.
Okay, so there's a personal stake in this. It's not just some abstract idea.
Yeah.
But even with that, it still doesn't really answer the how,
Yeah.
It's easy to just say forgive, but when it feels impossible, how do you actually do it?
Right. And that's where I think these sources get really practical.
Okay.
They emphasize that forgiveness, it's a process,
Yeah.
not a light switch.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen. And they suggest, starting by, first of all, acknowledging the pain,
Okay.
just letting yourself feel it, really feel it.
So not suppressing it, but not letting it consume you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not letting it define you.
Okay.
Recognizing the wrongs, but not letting the bitterness take root.
Right.
And then that's where I think faith comes in. The sources talk about really surrendering that offense to God, trusting that He can handle it,
Yeah.
that He can bring about healing
Okay.
in His way and time.
Mm.
And there's this one line that I think is just so powerful. It says, forgiveness is not about forgetting, but choosing to release the hurt.
Oh, yeah. That's a really important distinction.
Yes.
Because sometimes, even years later, the memory pops up and you're like, wait a minute, I thought I forgave this.
You think you've dealt with it, and then, yeah.
Right. But maybe it's more about loosening the grip that it has
Exactly.
on you.
It's about choosing to let go.
Yeah.
And that's an ongoing choice,
Okay.
not a one-time event.
Uh,
The sources even go so far as to suggest praying for those who hurt us.
oh, wow.
Now, I know that can...
That's like the last thing you want to do.
I know. It can feel impossible at first.
Yeah.
But, praying for them, it can help to shift our perspective a little bit.
Okay.
It doesn't excuse what they did,
Right.
but it helps us to just chip away at that bitterness.
It's like, imagine a garden that's just completely been overtaken by weeds.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just wish them away.
You can't.
You have to actively plant something new,
Yes.
beautiful, to overcome that ugliness.
I love that. That's a great analogy. And that's where the sources bring in this idea of, cultivating the fruits of the Spirit
Okay. Yeah.
that are mentioned in Galatians 5.22223.
Mm.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Mm.
They argue that replacing bitterness with these things, it's essential
Yeah.
for real forgiveness.
Okay, but I can already hear some pushback, on this, saying things like, wait a minute, if I forgive someone, isn't that like letting them off the hook?
Right.
Doesn't that make me weak?
That's a common misconception.
Yeah.
And it's something the sources address head on,
Okay.
because they argue that forgiving isn't about condoning what they did.
Right.
It's about freeing ourselves from the power that the hurt has over us.
Okay.
One source actually puts it this way. It says, forgiveness is not weakness. It's strength from God.
So it's drawing on something bigger than yourself
Yes.
to break free from that cycle of pain,
Yes. And
resentment. You're not saying that the offense wasn't real.
Right.
You're just refusing to let it control you.
That's a good way to put it. And the sources highlight this. They highlight Jesus on the cross, praying, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Yeah.
He wasn't saying what happened to him was okay.
Right.
It was about choosing love over retribution,
Wow.
even when he was in unimaginable pain.
It's like, if he can do it under those circumstances,
Right.
maybe, just maybe, there's hope for the rest of us,
Exactly.
even with these everyday hurts that we have.
That's right. And that brings us to another important point. The sources make it clear that forgiveness isn't just something we offer to others.
It's also about forgiving ourselves.
Yeah, you got it. That's a big one.
Yeah, a lot of us struggle with that.
For sure.
Holding on to that guilt and shame, it can be just as bad as holding on to resentment towards someone else.
Yeah.
And actually, both sources go so far as to give us a specific prayer for forgiveness. And I think that says a lot about how we should approach this whole process. It's not just like a mental exercise. It's about actively seeking help from God to deal with this really hard thing.
Yeah, admitting we don't have to do this alone.
Right.
That we can lean on, a higher power
Absolutely.
for strength
Mm-hmm.
and guidance. What really stood out to you in this prayer?
There's one line that I thought was really powerful. It says, I want to feel free from the bonds that the lack of forgiveness has created in my life. And I think that's so true. Unforgiveness really can imprison us, keep us chained to the past.
It's like carrying around this weight,
Totally.
You might be able to handle it for a while, but eventually it just wears you down. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the prayer goes on to say, the offense has made me weak. As a Christian, I am made strong by your Spirit, and I do not want anything to keep me in a state of weakness.
Right.
And that, to me, speaks to the transformative power of forgiveness. It's not just passively accepting what happened.
Right.
It's about taking back your strength, choosing to live from a place of power.
It's not denying the pain. It's refusing to let it define you.
Exactly.
It's breaking free from those chains
Yes.
of bitterness and stepping into a future where, you're not a prisoner of the past anymore.
Yeah. And what I think is so interesting here is that both sources emphasize that forgiveness, it's not a destination. It's a journey.
It's not a one-time thing.
Right. It's something we might have to choose over and over again.
Especially when those memories pop up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like working a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
That's a great analogy.
So even though it can feel really tough at first, it gets easier with practice, right?
Yes, absolutely. And remember, we're not just talking about forgiving other people here.
Right.
The sources make it clear that forgiving ourselves is just as important. We all mess up. We all make mistakes. And, hanging on to that guilt and shame can be just as damaging as holding on to resentment.
So it's about extending that same grace to ourselves.
Exactly.
Recognizing that, none of us are perfect. We all need forgiveness.
We all need healing. And there's this verse in Isaiah chapter 55, verse 7, that I think speaks to this so beautifully.
Okay.
It says, let the wicked forsake his way, and let him return to the Lord, who will have mercy on him, and to our God, who will not tire of forgiving.
Wow.
It's a beautiful reminder that God's capacity for forgiveness is limitless. And it encourages us to have that same spirit in our own lives.
It's comforting to know that no matter what we've done, God's love and forgiveness are always there.
Absolutely. And the sources suggest that really reflecting on this verse can be a powerful tool on our own journey of forgiveness. Think about how we offer it to others, but also how we receive it. God's forgiveness for ourselves.
It's a reminder that we're all capable of change and growth. And God's love is always there to guide us back to wholeness.
You got it.
Yeah.
And what's so powerful about these sources is that they emphasize that forgiveness is an act of faith.
Okay.
Trusting that even when we don't know what's next, God is working behind the scenes to bring us healing, bringing restoration.
It's like taking a step into the unknown, even when it feels scary.
Yeah.
And believing that, there's solid ground on the other side.
That you won't fall through. And that's where the sources leave us with this really thought-provoking question.
With the question, what do we need to think about?
They ask us to think about that verse from Isaiah, the one about God never getting tired of forgiving.
Right.
And how that relates to our own lives, not just about us forgiving other people, but that part about receiving forgiveness.
Okay.
For ourselves. It's about
Yeah.
what forgiveness really means.
Yeah.
For us and for our relationships.
Yeah. We always think about forgiveness as this big thing,
Right.
like a grand gesture.
Yeah.
But these sources seem to be pointing to something much, much smaller.
Yeah.
Like, it's the everyday choices.
The little things we do.
Yeah, those little tiny acts of letting go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they encourage us to go back to that prayer, the one for forgiveness, and really use it
Yeah.
as a tool to grow, to heal.
Because this isn't a one-time thing, is it?
No, it's definitely not a one and done. It takes practice.
Maybe our whole lives.
Could be, yeah.
Because even when we think we've forgiven someone or ourselves, it can come back.
It can creep back in, those feelings.
Right. So it's like we have to keep choosing.
Choosing to let go, to be free, to be whole. And the great thing about that is it gives us back the power. We're not stuck in those emotions. We're not stuck in the past.
Yeah.
We can choose to move forward into a future where forgiveness, given and received, it's the foundation.
It's almost like it's not about the other person as much as it is about us,
Yeah.
Like I'm doing this for me to set myself free.
Absolutely. And the sources make it clear that this isn't weak. It's not passive.
Right.
This is strong. This is powerful. It's saying, I'm not going to let this hurt run my life anymore.
Yeah.
I'm choosing love. I'm choosing to be healed.
That's powerful. And for anyone out there who's struggling with this, anyone who's feeling stuck, maybe in resentment or guilt, these sources really do offer us a way forward. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
It is. And, as we finish this deep dive into forgiveness, I keep thinking about Jesus on the cross. It reminds me that even when things are really bad, love and forgiveness are still possible. And if it's possible for him, maybe it's possible for us too.
It is a powerful image to hold on to. And maybe that's the point. Forgiveness, giving it and accepting it, brings us closer to God, closer to ourselves, and closer to that love that can heal even the deepest hurts.